Okay. Um, I am pleased to be joined by Al Gerhardt, president of Kraus-Anderson Construction, and also newly promoted to a new role as executive vice president of Kraus-Anderson Companies. Congrats on that, Al, and thanks for joining me this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thanks for having me. Yeah, uh, it's great to see the sunshine for a change. So we're celebrating that these days. Hopefully, a little warm weather to come.
Yeah, and Minnesota Twins opener in downtown Minneapolis
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. We got to be positive. A lot of things going on.
Gotta like that. And just briefly, speaking of sports, I see that you earned a construction management degree from Minnesota State Mankato, and I see that they are in the NCAA hockey championship game now.
Yeah,
Um,
isn't that amazing?
yeah, I don't know
Go
if you're a
Maverick.
hockey
Yeah,
fan, but go Mavericks, right?
go Mavericks is right. Yeah, I was a gymnast when I was in college at what was then Mankato State, but Minnesota
Mhm.
State Mankato now. And so it's great to see the Mavericks getting into the limelight here in the hockey realm. So that's great to see. Pretty exciting for the university.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they made it to the championship game at the expense of the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, which happens to be my alma mater. But I think the
Yeah,
entire state can now rally around the Mavericks.
yeah. It's unfortunate that two Minnesota teams had to play and one had to be eliminated before we got to the finals. But I guess that's the way it works.
Yeah, definitely. So I wonder if you could just talk first a little bit about your new role with Kraus-Anderson Companies. It sounds like part of those duties will be some strategic collaboration with KA Realty and Development operations. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So, um, just to provide just a little bit of background, um, I've been with Kraus Anderson for 42 years, and the last 15 of those years, I've been the chief operating officer of our construction company. So, this is a transition that will take me maybe from a little bit more away from doing transactions to working on transitional leadership within the organization, including providing coaching and strategic direction and oversight and mentoring for both KA Construction and KA companies. So I'll be working, providing oversight yet as president for the construction company, but also working with uh, uh, people within our development and real estate side of the operation, specifically people like Pete Diesner, who's president of our real estate and development company, to work on integrating our two groups even more. As over the last few years, people have probably seen that we've taken on a stronger role in the development side, and so we have a long history of being a contractor, I guess, first, and yet have been a developer these years, but maybe not quite so prominent in the industry. And we're focusing on, continuing to keep our construction skills sharp, but also offering a more integrated solution for those clients who would like some help in the development and construction realm combined.
Yeah, and we saw of course, redevelopment of the downtown Minneapolis block where you have your headquarters and have had a
Right.
presence there for many, many years. How has that worked out as far as just overall leasing and things of nature on that block?
Well, it's been very good. I mean, of course, we've gone through a bit of a tough couple of years as a community, both with some of the social unrest and COVID. But all in all, in balance, we're still very bullish on being in downtown Minneapolis. really proud of the work that we did on this block to build a 300-unit apartment building, hotel, brewery, our office headquarters here. So that was a significant venture for our organization. And now we just completed a 325 units apartment building called the Larking right next door. So we're pretty bullish on downtown and Easttown particular.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that since you have just such a strong history in downtown Minneapolis. And, I know during the height of COVID and things like that, it definitely had an impact on downtown. But do you see do you see more energy down there now as people return to the office and so on?
Yeah, we sure do. I mean, it's great to see when we walk through the skyways over the Dune Hour to grab a bite to eat. There's lines, down the corridors, down the skyways. A lot more activity downtown. We're not quite there yet, but we're well on our way. And it's just exciting to see, the vibrance coming back to the community again. So, and I don't know if we've got this COVID thing fully beat yet, but for right now, we're feeling pretty good about where we are, and most of our people are back in the office. We were fortunate enough to be considered an essential service during that time, and so we kept our job sites running throughout the COVID cycle. But we worked a little differently, and so we're starting to kind of come back to the office, and not 100% yet, but we're definitely kind of learning as we go, and adjusting as we need to as we transition back to whatever the new normal is going to look like going forward.
Yeah, and how long have you been downtown, including going back to the old office there? It goes back quite a number of years, I know.
I think it's 1937.
Wow.
Was when we put the first building on the exact square footage we're on right now. So that was 501 South A Street. Then we moved to the other side of the block at 525 South A Street.
Mhm.
And now we're back at 501 South A Street again with our new corporate headquarters.
Wow, yeah, and just remembering how that block used to be just a lot of surface parking there before and really sort of underutilized. And it's nice to see some real vibrancy there, and just
Yeah,
nice addition to downtown, I think so.
yeah, exactly.
Do you have any thoughts on I know that Kraus-Anderson does a lot of work, for example, in K-12, and can you talk a little bit about that and maybe some of the other I guess opportunities you're pursuing, some of the other sectors that you're
Mhm.
pretty active in now?
Yeah. Well, like a lot of sectors, starting with K-12, like a lot of sectors, the focus went off of building new buildings by school boards. The focus was on masks and vaccination and remote learning and all the other things that went along with the challenges that COVID put us through. But more recently, we've seen referendums start to pass at a really pretty good clip. We had 4 referendums that we were selected on as construction manager over the last few months here that came up for vote, and every one of those referendums passed. About $125 million of new construction. So, we're seeing that continue to be a real strong market for us. We've got several other large school projects coming up over the next few months here. There's another referendum both this summer, another one this fall. So that market is starting to get some real traction again. We had probably at least a year where not a lot happened there, but the good news is we had a lot of backlog going into it. So we're feeling again pretty good about that. The other market that continues to be strong is the multifamily housing market. And we've got, I just mentioned the Larking project that we just opened here a couple weeks ago. We're doing a project for Sherman just a couple blocks away from our office called The Moment. That topped out a few weeks back. There's 3 or 4 other larger projects in downtown Minneapolis that are housing projects that we're in discussion on. So surprisingly, that market continues to stay strong. So we're feeling good about that. So healthcare, is another one of our primary markets. Again, COVID was very hard on the healthcare industry. They were kind of in crisis mode to a large extent, focused on, the COVID crisis itself. But we're now starting to see a shift in the healthcare market to get more bricks and mortar focus, new projects started, maybe not so many new bed towers, but a lot of additions, renovations. They all learned a lot through COVID as to, how they need to structure their healthcare solutions. And so that's been strong, and a lot of activity in rural healthcare. That's been an emerging market for us as well. And then, the final primary sector is city county government type work. And, we've seen again, good activity and community centers, fire stations, public safety facilities, those kinds of things. So a lot of activity. We do face some headwinds with supply chain and with inflation. No mystery to anybody. Everybody's feeling that personally. We're certainly feeling it in the construction industry. Things that would take, 3 to 4 months to get historically now are taking sometimes over a year. It's crazy that we're scheduling projects over the availability of garage doors or things like that, which have never been, an issue. Switch gear, insulation is a challenge, steel, bar joists. Just every day it seems like there's a new surprise as to where a supply chain issue is clogged up. And so that, along with just inflation, simple things like, post tension cables that we use in concrete frames. A lot of that is made the iron comes from Russia, and they're fabricated in Ukraine. Well, what a perfect storm. So the supply of post tension cables to our industry is a little bit suspect right now. So we're constantly looking for different ways to procure and manage, that issue, and trying to get, we used to believe that just in time was the right way to do things, lean. Well, not so much anymore. Now we better have some of this stuff on hand and inventory. And so we're seeing just a whole thought process change on how we procure.
Yeah, you were reading my mind there, because I was going to ask you about just in time, and it just seems like obviously folks like yourself folks in this industry just have to be a little more nimble and creative now and not just do things the way they used to do them, and keeps you on your toes, it sounds like.
No question.
So well, you really covered the bulk of what I wanted to ask you about. I know that we're already through the first quarter of 2022, which is kind of hard to believe, and well into that spring construction season and summer coming up, and hopefully the weather will cooperate. But I know in particular on your K-12 side, you've talked about the Summer Slam season, I think is what you've called it, where you really hit those projects hard in these months.
Right. We've got, sometimes we'll have 30 or 40 projects that all have to be done in that 3-month period, where we take advantage of the kids being out of school and get in there and might do what would otherwise be instead of 3 months, but 6 to 7 months of work and try to get it done. So summer is a busy season in the K-12 market. Will be again this year. Yeah, we're again, very excited about the opportunity to see some of that K-12 stuff come back.
Yeah, and for sure, before I let you go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the other recent promotions that were announced by Kraus-Anderson. Rich Jacobson, new Chief Operating Officer and Executive VP, I believe. Wayne Gray, Senior VP of Finance, and Leslie Greaves, I hope I pronounced her name right, Executive VP of Human Resources. Any thoughts on those promotions and what those mean for the company?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more excited about each of those. I mean, Rich and I have worked together for more than 15 years. Rich has been with Kraus-Anderson for over 30 years. It's time to, transition some of that day-to-day operations over to Rich. I'm very confident in his ability. He and I, sit side by side in the organization, or have for many years. And, he's well positioned and has a really strong network and experience in the industry. And I'm very confident that this transition will go very smoothly. We are very intentional about making these moves. We try to be very thoughtful about our strategic process, kind of centered around organizational design and, professional development and succession planning. And so this has been in the works for years. We've made, many moves to kind of free Rich up so that he's available to take on this added role. So this should work very seamlessly, something we've been talking about for quite some time. Like many of the key roles, we put a lot of thought into that. Leslie Greaves is our new Executive Vice President. She's been with the company for, I think, 6 or 7 years, and is now promoted to this new role as Executive Vice President of both Kraus-Anderson Construction and Kraus-Anderson Companies, and has been instrumental in a focus on talent retention, talent development, and employee engagement at our organization. Comes to us from Target Corporation previously, and has been really just a breath of fresh air for us, who spend most of our time thinking about stacking bricks and sticks and steel, to the softer side of employee relations, engagement, and those kinds of things. And then last but not least, Wayne Gray. Wayne comes to us, been with us for about 3 years now, came to us from Clark out of Bethesda, Maryland, and is a real, again, breath of fresh air in our financial area. Has really been a partner for Rich and I to bring kind of the finance acumen to the construction operations side of the business, and helping us with data analytics and giving us the information that we need to make really informed decisions together on the direction of the organization. So I'm really excited with each of these promotions and where it will take us for many years to come here at Kraus-Anderson.
Wonderful. Well, I thank you again for your time, and hope we can stay in touch, and good luck with all your projects. And I know there are a lot of challenges out there, but somehow I know you guys are on top of it, and we'll see your projects through.
And then a miracle happens, Brian, and we get her done.
Yeah. Sounds good.
No, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Okay. Take care. Have a good day.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. See you. Bye.